Hello and welcome to Leaders of the New Aeon, the harmonic resonance of stepping into your soul's calling. This is a global online conference designed to awaken, inspire, and empower the new wave of leaders to rise up and claim their purpose. Whether you are looking to become the leader of your own life or a leader in your community, you will learn through a holistic lens in this summit how to lead with grace, integrity, confidence, and resilience. I am the producer and host, Jessica Ruby Hernandez, and I have been secretly working on this summit for about the past 6 months, dreaming of the day I can finally reveal it to everyone. And here we are. I'm so excited. It's happening. It has begun. This is day one. And I am so excited to welcome you to the summit. We have an incredible lineup of speakers. And in fact, I have today with me one of my good friends and mentors, Dr. Rosie Kuhn, who you will hear from later on in the summit. But today, she's going to interview me. So this will be fun. Rosie, you can take it away.
Thank you, Ruby. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be part of this amazing summit. I've been part of summits, but this is the one that I am really, really excited about. So thank you for letting me do this today with you, and thank you for letting me be part of the summit altogether. So,
My pleasure.
so um, first of all, I want to tell your audience about you, if that's okay. Are you good with that?
I think we should. Yes, thank you.
Who is this person?
Yeah.
Why should I be here listening? And why am I so excited about it? So, Jessica Ruby decided at a very young age that she wanted to become a modern shaman woman, a modern day shaman woman, inspired by the Native American shamans that it's so hard because I'm listening to you and talking to you, but I have to say she here. So just saying.
It's okay.
I'm reading, sorry, because, okay. So, as a kid, you obsessively read about the Native American shamans, and you knew intuitively that helping people heal on the physical, mental, and spiritual level was the formula required for people to find their wholeness and tap into the truth of their being and live a life of happiness and fulfillment. Yay! Thus began your panacea of studies in yoga, meditation, coaching, psychotherapy, creative expression, EFT tapping, sound healing, and intuitive healing, and a whole lot more. Uh, your work with clients is unique to each individual and draws from your diverse skill set. So each person is met with the tools that will serve them best on their own healing journey. Most important, you, Jessica Ruby, weave together playfulness and laughter, and because you have this playful spirit about you that is always present and really supports your clients in the healing process, because you believe that these two vital ingredients, this playfulness and laughter, are ingredients that if left out just kind of slows the process down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds fun too.
it's a lot of fun. If it's not fun, people aren't going to stick around, right? When not teaching and working with clients one-on-one, or online, or your one-on-one VP retreats, we can find you on adventures somewhere around the world. That's really cool. Soaking up natural settings and communicating with locals, because travel is a sacred catalyst for not only fun and rejuvenation, but also for creative inspiration and cultivating compassion for all living beings. So Ruby, I think you're awesome.
Thank you.
And you're here to talk about being human, and being human is a challenge, and it can be really, really hard. And that at the same time, it can be a process of letting your light shine. So I think, tell us more about you and how you came to this place of wanting to really help people, support people, and bring them into their wholeness and their light.
Mm, mm. I would
If
love
you want to, if you want to.
I would love to. In fact, I'd love to tell you a story.
Okay.
Um, so I want to tell you a story that is the tale of the embodied mystic, how a scared little maiden became the high priestess of her own life. And as I've learned from one of my other mentors, when you hear a story, every character in the story is you. The protagonist, the antagonist, all the other characters, they all live within each of us. So this story happened a long time ago, and also right here, right now, in this moment. So there once was this young woman who had big dreams, but she was deeply afraid of being seen. She felt she had to stay really small in the world and walk in the exact same footsteps of the people who came before her. But those footsteps didn't feel authentic, and she was afraid that if she didn't follow them, she would be unloved by her family. But she was also afraid that if she did follow them, she would betray her soul on a deep, deep level. So she had a big dilemma. Right? So she sat in hiding, secretly yearning for a different life, but keeping herself very small, until one day the pain that it took to stay small and curled up in a ball became so great that she cried out and sought guidance. Guidance for the wisdom, for the courage, for the grace and the inner and outer integrity, and all the resilience practices needed to be able to let herself grow bigger and walk her own path in life. And so this path was quite an adventure. Slow at times, methodical, painful, as much of what was familiar was either ripped away or she was forced to leave it behind. And a lot of it she had actually outgrown, but didn't realize it until she gave herself permission to be bigger. And so days and months and years went by, and sometimes she crawled forward and sometimes she crawled backwards towards the familiar shape of her old life. And she wrestled with deep-seated fears and anxiety up to her eyeballs, and that knee-jerk instinct to curl up and hide from the world, especially, most especially when things were hard and scary and she was overwhelmed by it all. And so other times she was leaping across gullies and running across bridges, and sometimes she simply sat in the new terrain that she found and observed herself in it. And sometimes she cried herself to sleep and dreaded getting up in the morning. And sometimes she could hardly sleep because she was so full of creative inspiration and she couldn't wait to get it out into the world. um, Along the way, she encountered, of course, various characters in her adventure. Some sold her false truths that she listened to for a while until she realized they simply wanted her to stay small and controlled for their own personal gain, in this little box for their own pleasure. No, 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 no. This is not my path, she would eventually realize. And then there were the characters who scolded and shamed her, wagging their finger and telling her she was bad for wanting to create her own unique path. And initially, these naysayers concerned our maiden. She certainly didn't want to harm anybody by following her heart. And at a certain point, those criticisms became laughable because good guides and mentors showed up who told her, when you act in your own highest good, you're acting in the highest good of all involved. And then, there's always a troll at the bridge trying to collect taxes. So suffice to say, there were many ups and downs and ahas and uh-ohs as she progressed towards clarity and tapped into inner wisdom and even dared to begin using her voice a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit louder. And, did she find the on switch to her inner light immediately? No, 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 no. And spoiler alert, that light was actually already always on. She just had this, mud caked over it and a cloak around it to hide it from the world. But along the way, over the years, over the paths, over the journey that she took, she learned to do hard things. And she strengthened her muscles of doing scary things, right? And she learned to sit in discomfort because the growth process is uncomfortable. That makes me think, immediately of growing pains as a child. I don't know if any of y'all had those growing pains. I would get them in my leg, and it would be the worst pain that would come out of nowhere, drop me to the floor, have me crying and writhing on the floor like a crazy kid, and then they would be gone in 5 minutes. So that was kind of like the prequel to this journey. And she also learned to dig deep within herself, to excavate her truths and her deepest desires, so that the deepest desires that she had previously deemed unworthy of even seeing the light of day. And she began to wash off the caked mud from her inner light and play around with, what would it be like if I threw off the cloak for a few minutes here and there and in various situations? And so she began to dance along the spectrum of reveal, conceal, right? Reveal, conceal. And she realized over time the value of all of her life experiences, not just the shiny, pretty ones. And most importantly, she learned to trust in herself and in life, that life actually wanted good things for her, but she had to direct the cruise, so to speak. She had heard one teacher say, humans, we are so free, we can choose bondage. And she gained insight into the power of her mind and her thoughts and her internal dialogue. And she began to trust that the universe has her back, no matter what, and that life is for experiencing and experimenting and exploring, and not just sitting on the sidelines watching other people do it. And certainly not about getting it all perfect, right? So synchronicities began to show up as her inner world began creating the outer world she sought. And suddenly she realized not only had she been walking a fresh new path with only her footsteps on it, but she was enjoying it. And oftentimes dancing and skipping along. And now, you know, she she did still skip, not skip, trip. See, it's happening right now. Um, she still tripped and fell every once in a while because, oh yes, she has a great talent for that. But she also knows that's what it means to be human. So she's able to find forgiveness for herself, which opens up her heart to find forgiveness for others. And then suddenly one day, her path takes her to the top of this mountain. And as she stood there in her superwoman power pose, and the wind beginning to dance in her hair, and it blew the cloak right off of her inner light to shine fully. And she realized, looking at this inner light, like the vast majority of that caked on mud, it was gone. It had been cleaned off. And she began to feel her light touching others, and it didn't scare her as much.
Mm.
And she felt herself being seen and witnessed by others, and it didn't scare her so much. And as she opened her mouth and began singing her soul's song at the top of her lungs, not caring who heard it or if it was perfectly in tune, and she liked it. And as she continued to sing, the wolves began howling with her in approval, and the birds flew in circles above her, adding their song, and the whales and the dolphins of the ocean below her mountain surfaced and squeaked their approval and sung along with her. And it didn't scare her as much. And she felt this sense of awe, this this oneness that you feel when you're in touch with your environment, and you feel like you're all vibrating to the same frequency. And you felt that, right? And as she sang the last notes of her song, her heart full of love and fullness and delight, she sat on the ground and gave gratitude to all the beings joining in her song, to all the supporters and teachers and mentors she had encountered along the way, even for her family for giving her a path to follow in case she needed it, and especially to herself for choosing to boldly persevere on her path, for excavating her truths, and for bravely singing her own song. And she had found the grace of integrating and alchemizing her fears and her pain and harmonizing her inner and outer worlds. And she had the integrity of being in touch with her deepest truths and living from them rather than hiding them and betraying them. She had the courage and confidence now to find and use her voice and to express her truths. And she had picked up quite a few practices to maintain her resilience to face whatever life had to throw her way. And as she sat there, reveling in the beauty of it all, reminiscing about the journey she had been on for so long, she felt and heard the winds swirling around her, and they began to whisper, "Now, child, share
Mm.
what you've learned with others. It's your time to shine." And here we are. And thus far, this is the tale of the embodied mystic, how a scared little maiden became the high priestess of her own life. And you could say the end, but also it's just the beginning. And I want to share, thank you, first of all, for listening to that little story. And I'd like to share a quote that's kind of been a guiding light for me for understanding myself and life. And it's from Tony Robbins. He's quoted to say, "Life is a dance between what we fear most and what we desire most." And I think I'm here to show people how to dance this dance, to normalize it and to share the tools that have helped me to master, if you will, and enjoy this dance of expansion and contraction and expansion and contraction, because that is the very makeup of this thing we call life. Oh.
Wow. Thank you so much. Because, I mean, it's just a beautiful story. And I know you in that story. I know those places, the real everyday challenges and the falling down and the tripping and the getting caught in other people's and listening to. I know those parts of your truth because I kind of sat with you and along the way. So I just so appreciate that this story, this fairy tale, it really embodies you in your journey. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
bringing it to us all. So thank you.
Thank
Truly,
you.
truly, truly.
It is such a treat to be able to be sharing it with you first. So thank you for being my steward and witness throughout
You
this
bet.
process.
You bet. It gives me a little bit chills.
Me too. Ah,
So, um, let's dive into your topic. Are
yes.
you ready to do that?
I
Are
think
you,
we shall. We shall. Let's share it with everybody. And so Rosie is going to share her screen with the slides.
okay, thanks for reminding me.
Yes.
Go in here and we're gonna go. Do I do this first? Bloop. And then we go like that. There we go.
Perfect. I see them. Thank you. Thank you. So, yes, being human is hard. How to let your light shine with me, Jessica Ruby Hernandez. Can go to the next one. And again, a warm welcome to Leaders of the New Aeon, our global online summit. This is the first of all of the interviews that will be released each day from May 20th to the 24th. We will be releasing 4 to 5 interviews, so I am so excited for you to hear them all. They are amazing. Go ahead.
That's a good thing. I mean, the more that you're excited about what's going on, it just means that there's just so much more passion and light that's coming through and playfulness because you're so excited about it.
Yes.
That's a
All right, so I just explained my journey, so yeah, we can go to the next one. Next one. I have some superfluous slides in there. I apologize. But here we are. Okay, so yes, let me come back to what I wanted to say to you. And I am looking for my notes. Ha. So anyone listening would probably agree being human is hard, especially if you identify. I want to shout out to my fellow HSP, highly sensitive people, empaths or introverts, or anyone who's experienced trauma. Yeah, yeah. Wait, hi, me. Yes, me too. Me. Yes, yeah. Um, you know, let's face it, being human is traumatizing on some level for all of us. And some of us have experienced trauma at the hands of other people, other humans. So, what you're going to learn about from several of our speakers are tools for dealing with that. But what I want to share to you today is my experience of what I've learned along the way as an HSP, introvert, empath, slightly traumatized little human. Because I can tell you right now with confidence, we were not meant to stay small and traumatized. And once we do our own healing, we become the perfect candidates for helping others heal their own wounding because we've been there and done that. So here's my version of I've been there, done that, and here's what I've learned. And I'm I'm excited to share it with you. So starting off, number one, nobody gets out of life unscathed. That's the simple truth. This is the fact of life. We all came here to learn things. Side note, if you're not sure what you came here to learn, I highly recommend getting an Akashic record reading. I happen to offer that if you're interested, but you can learn what your life lessons are. But so we all have things to learn. We all have things that happen to us, and we get to decide how we want to be with that. Do we want to fight it or flow with it? Right? So fighting it can look like being a victim, or doing everything the hard way, complaining, or rather than trying to find solutions. Um, flowing looks like surrender. It's like, oh, okay, this is what life is right now. How can I move myself across this to the other side of this challenge? How can I be kind to myself during this challenge? How can I find solutions in this challenge? You know, I would say if you're not able to say something to the effect of, I trust the process of life, even if I don't understand it right now, then you're probably fighting against it. And if that's the case for you, I would ask myself, if I were you, what exactly am I fighting against? You might find some interesting answers. So go to the next slide. So we have self-responsibility. And here's this quote here, to thine own self be true. That is our work to be done. And in my belief, we have this self-responsibility to know ourselves, to be true to ourselves. Especially if you wish to direct your own life, you have to cultivate self-awareness. So journaling, meditating, questioning your beliefs, taking inventory of your values. You I don't know. I would venture to say you're probably not going to know your soul's calling if you don't know yourself. Um, that that just kind of makes sense to me. Try it on for you. But we have to have the self-responsibility to make the right choices and do what our soul chose to do in this lifetime.
Ruby, I was doing this because, in terms of journaling and stuff, there's also in a sense, expressive arts or dancing and moving, like allowing. So I was just thinking about that part of it too, the moving. So I was kind of doing this, but I was really in alignment with what you were saying in terms of like
No
that,
worries. No
that
worries.
expression.
um, yeah, it's I guess you would say maybe a less linear route to self-awareness, but a beautiful one if you're open to it. to ecstatic dance, to um, somatic somatic experiencing. There's a little more I'll talk about in a later slide
Right.
about tuning in. Yeah, absolutely. Creative expression. You make
Express.
art, whatever the art media that you like, it's still showing you a piece of yourself, a piece of what's inside. You're bringing it outside to know yourself a little deeper. So thank you for bringing that in.
For the audience, that is such a huge part of you discovering your light through not only dance, but through expressive arts with media and
Mhm.
collages and all kinds of things that were part of you coming into the world. They're just so full of light. So just wanted to add that in there. So
Thank you. I appreciate that and recognizing that.
absolutely.
So, coming back to that self responsibility, um, I want to say, what do I want to say? I don't want people to feel like this is me trying to tell you, you got to figure out, which cog in the machine you're supposed to play, or, what flavor of productivity you are supposed to fulfill. Because we need all walks of life. Not everybody's meant to change the world on a large scale. Some people are meant to change people one on one, one at a time. Some people are just meant to become a better leader of themselves, of their family, of their local community, right? So it don't fret about what you find is your truth and your calling. It does not have to be the biggest, most ambitious thing out there. But it does equate to that self responsibility, does equate to self leadership. Um, and self leadership is cultivating that relationship with within yourself to know what is an authentic path for you, right? To know where am I being called to step up, to lead, um, whatever that looks like for you. So I would say the opposite, if you want to know, well, what's the opposite of self responsibility? That's like letting other people decide for you, which I'll put it out there as it's within the realm of possibility that some people that maybe that's what they came here to experience as other people directing their life. So if that's the case, okay, but I would wager maybe that's not the thing for most people.
But it is a path to discovering that's not my path, in the sense that in,
Right.
in in your story, as you're saying, here's where I let people put me in a box. Here's where I let people tell me what to do. Here's where their criticism made me feel. And it's like, but that in your story, it's so beautiful. It's like, but that I know was not me.
Yeah.
So in being in those moments of not following my own truth, I got to know, and I'm saying this as a we get to know that's not my path. That's their path. And I'm afraid of my path, but I got it, and that's your story just unfolded that whole process. So again,
Mhm.
thank you for that.
Thank you. All right, number three things I've learned.
Whoopsie.
Oh, you're there. Oh, you went back. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Scheduling appointments with ourselves so that you can tune into this inner knowing. So valuable. It actually makes a huge difference. Again, whether you're meditating, you're journaling, you're being in nature, taking long baths, going on a self date, doing your hobbies, following your creativity, expressing your creativity. It it helps us to release the steam and the pressure cooker of life. It also helps us to build resilience. It helps us to build self trust and self awareness. Because at the end of the day, who can we guarantee is going to be with us our whole life? Only ourselves, right? So if you're the only one that's guaranteed to be with you your whole life, you probably want to make that a quality relationship.
I like that. And
Yeah.
I I love that you've included unstructured downtime because I think in our modern day society, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to just play,
Yeah.
and we're all about play, and the wisdom that comes through that. And so it's so difficult to not try to be purposeful and productive. And this place of unstructured downtime, it can be terrifying because it goes against everything that's on Facebook, on all the social media. It's
Yeah.
again the contrast of what we're exposed to constantly of being productive and or some sort of structured living. And so I love that you included this. It's so important.
Yes, it does create that beautiful contrast, and it is, especially nowadays, becomes a muscle to strengthen. I mean, can I sit here and do nothing and not guilt and shame myself about it, and um, not feel somehow unworthy as a human because I'm sitting here doing nothing, right? Nothing productive. And we need that. We're not robots, you know. I'll be saying that a couple times in this presentation. We are not robots, and yet we're trained by society to treat ourselves that way, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not our truth. We'll just say it that way. It's not our truth.
I think it's one of the gifts of COVID is that so many people went, huh, I got nothing to do. What would I like to do? What would I like to and people took up knitting. I mean, a lot of people took up knitting and crocheting and fabric arts or fishing, fish keeping or dogs or cats or there's something that they came connected to because they had unstructured time and they didn't know what to do with it. They found so often in a sense, their soul's calling. So that's a really, I think, really wonderful thing.
Yes, that is the gift. And you just reminded me, I know you have had this practice and you've taught me this practice of you will sit like on a bench and not move a muscle until you feel inspired. Like it's not like, oh, I have to go do the dishes. Well, no, that doesn't count. We're not moving for that. I move only from inspiration. It's like, oh, that's gonna make most of our brains like do gymnastics of like, what do I do here? But such a gift to give yourself. It's like, I'm just gonna try this for a couple of hours or 30 minutes, you know? What would it be like?
Long as it as long as it takes to say, oh, I should do the dishes or I should call somebody or maybe I should check my FaceTime. I say FaceTime because maybe it's TikTok or whatever. I should and it's like, nope, stop. Only from inspiration. And in that practice, as you're saying, now I know what that feels like to know what I'm inspired to do. It might be my first experience was, oh, I think I'll go look for my dog's collar. Like I just got inspired to go look for the dog's collar. Like who knew? Right? Not some I inspired to change the world. It's like my God, just what
Inspired to follow curiosity.
that's right.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that up because it really trains us, like you're saying, to change our mindset to be honoring our heart and that inspirited movement momentum and to move from that. So
So valuable.
yeah,
So
and it's
valuable.
fun. It's fun to watch your mind go, I can't do that or I shouldn't do that or who are you to? The guilt, the shame, it's like, yeah, stop.
You
Just
find all your shoulds and insecurities pretty quickly with that practice.
I can't afford to sit on the bench for
Right.
14 hours. It's like, okay.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Yeah.
It was pretty scary. Like, you can't afford to do this. Like, I'm just in 5 minutes. Okay.
Right.
Tonight,
You're fine.
you got 3 clients tomorrow. You're good.
You're
Just
good.
breathe in.
I love it. Thank you. Let's move to the next slide. So ultimately, you want to create a life that you don't need escaping from. And so what would that look like? Some of the, something you can use this unstructured downtime for is to envision that, to let yourself dream and make a vision board if that helps. But no, like it'll look different for everybody. We don't, if we all had the same life, how boring would the world be, right? If we all had the same life purpose, ugh, not not fun. So allow yourself to dare to dream, to dare to envision, to to dare to dare to let yourself have a life that you don't want to escape from. And along with that is allowing your vision to mature along with you, as in, allowing it to shift as you enter different stages in life, and check in with yourself, so you're not running on an outdated plans. Like, is this still what I want? Is this still the life that lights me up, right? That's number 4. We can go to the next slide. Number 5, I hate to break it to you. And this is something I've had to learn, is nobody's thinking about you as much as you think they are. And beyond that, nobody else is judging you as hard as you're judging yourself, even though some social media trolls might have you thinking otherwise. um, but seriously, stop it. The self-judgment, it it's not serving any positive purpose. I think our ego minds think that it's serving a purpose, and maybe the purpose it's serving is to keep you small and hidden. But if you're out there searching for your soul's path, for like, what is mine to do in the world, judging the crap out of yourself at every little step you take is not going to get you there, maybe ever, right? So please be kind to yourself, ease up, and, let yourself do the things, dare to do the things you yearn to do, and take the limitations off. A lot of times they're self-imposed limitations. I would say, unless you secretly enjoy the yearning and the struggling of not having it more than actually having it, then by all means, enjoy your struggle. But one game I like to play with myself is, if I wasn't afraid, I would ... and then I would look at, okay, what's maybe my next growing edge here? If I wasn't afraid, maybe I'll host a summit. If I wasn't afraid, maybe I would make art to be seen by others. If I wasn't afraid, maybe I would take that course, that thing that maybe that could be my new hobby, or maybe my side gig, or maybe a career pivot, right? So it's a fun little exercise to just see, like, where you might be holding yourself back out of fear or
Beautiful.
self-judgment.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
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 Nice.
Thank you. Next slide. So the bottom line is, you get to choose. You get to choose what playing bigger looks like for you. That does not mean you have to say yes to everything, or try to be all things to all people, or try to do things that just absolutely deplete you, or cross your own boundaries. Um, but what would it look like to expand yourself in a direction that feels exciting, right? You make it
Ruby,
work.
are you, I'm sorry just to interrupt, but in terms of playing bigger, does that mean that I have to be out in the world, or can I just be more me?
I
I,
like that. Yes. Yeah, whichever is, I would say, bottom line, what's more you. And that could look like being out in the world more, or that could be like, yeah, I'm going to stop saying yes to all these grabs at me out in the world, and do what's authentically me, and do life the way it works for me. Um, for an introverted person, it's probably going to be, I'm less in the world, right? And that's okay. And we don't all have to be on social media. It's okay.
yeah. My experience as a highly sensitive person, introvert, all those things, is I had, I wanted to be that in the world. And it took a lot to say, okay, I got to stop doing this because this isn't fulfilling to my soul. I
Yes.
have to stop doing this because this isn't fulfilling to my soul. It creates angst and stuff.
Yeah. Or not only is it not fulfilling, but it's depleting you, right?
Eating. Yeah,
It's
that's right. That's right. That's such a great indicator of it not being yours to do is, if it feels depleting, not yours to do.
yeah. Yeah. And
This
it's
is really a big challenge because, again, one of our social things is how many followers, how much can I be seen in the world? And
Right.
maybe to be the most purposeful, it can be how quiet and how
Mm,
present I can be here, and the light then shines so radiantly, and we're not even aware of it, the difference that we make in the world. But that might be how we're the most ourselves and playing bigger by just really
yes.
being here.
Being more authentic. Yes, absolutely. And that comes back to, dropping the judgments. It if you don't feel like being a on social media 24/7, don't. If that's depleting for you and it doesn't light you up, don't, because there are people out there that does light them up and they love connecting with people through social media. And that's great. That works for them, but it doesn't work for everybody and it's really okay. It's
Beautiful.
really okay.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
there's two practices that I want to share for tapping into like what would that look like for me. And I also want to say, actually, now that we're like distinguishing this a little more, you also don't have to play like 50% bigger or 100% bigger. You can play 1% bigger. You can play 5% bigger, 10% bigger. So you get to gauge based on your desire and capacity in the moment how much bigger you want to step. It doesn't have to be like complete 180. Unless that's what really feels authentic to you. It again, it's coming back into what works for you. And so there's a I don't even know what to call it, but we'll call it a felt sense exercise. If you're it helps It's really good if you're trying to decide between two things. So you can imagine, okay, decision A, maybe decision A is play a little bigger in life, right? Play 5% bigger in life. And you think about what would that look like, what would that feel like? And I talk with my hands, a lot of people, you might start to make some motions as you think of it with your body, with your hands, and you want to amplify that motion. It's like, ooh, yeah, this feels like this. And then, okay, we'll set that aside. You can spend like 2 to 5 minutes being in that decision and then literally stand up, go sit in another place in the room, or step over to another place in the room, and think about this, decision B or option B, which maybe is play smaller, get smaller, and you feel into that. What does that feel like? Does that feel expansive? Does that feel contracted? There are gonna be times where playing smaller is gonna be like, oh yes, this is what I need. And there are going to be times where you think of playing smaller and you're going to be like, that feels cramped and I feel like I'm hiding and that doesn't feel good. So sitting with each one of them and you can start to play with the movements, you'll notice most likely one of the options is going to feel like expansive and you're going to be doing expansive motions with the body. Another one's going to feel contractive and you're going to want to pull in or like push away like, oh no, that one does not feel good in my body. So that's a great way to use your body as the the weather vane, the barometer. That's the word, the barometer. And the other thing you can try is it's kind of like a visualization, creative visualization, little social experiment, so to speak, is to imagine your energy field around you, your aura, if you want to call it, your energy field, and play with pulling it in really tight against your skin and then expanding it 6 inches, 12 inches, 3 feet, a yard, a meter, and then pull it back in and just see what is this felt sense, where at what level of expansion feels comfortable for me, at what level of expansion feels maybe a little uncomfortable but exciting, right?
Mhm.
And where am I too open and feel too vulnerable? I don't like being this expansive. And then the social experiment part is you can walk around in the world, wherever in public and try like a more expanded energy field. See what that feels like. See how people interact with you versus when you've got it pulled in really tight and see how people interact with you that way. And see again, it's like, well, what feels good? Where do I feel comfortable? What am I enjoying? And I'll qualify that with there's going to be certain situations, especially if you're sensitive, where you're going to want your energy field pulled in because let's say you're in a crowd, you're in public, you're at a party or a concert or I don't know, lots of people, and you don't want to be like this because then like everybody's in your energy field. So you want to pull it in a little bit for self-preservation, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that is something that you can be aware of and keep tabs on throughout your day, throughout your life, whether you're around people or not around people. It's like how expanded and contracted do do I want to be right now? How do I feel? What do I need? That's number six.
I want to acknowledge that, you know, in the beginning in your introduction and stuff, you talked about the importance of experiencing and experimenting. And so I really love how you're really asking us to connect with the direct experience of what that is, as opposed to it being a logical, or here's what I should do, or here's how you do that, or you go out to a thing and do this and do that. It's like, it's really truly being able to experience myself as our audience, but to experience and go, ooh, this feels good or this doesn't feel good, and to really honor like the truth of like that, this in this situation, I need to do this. I can try, no, but being able to experience that directly through felt sense or experimenting, the incrementalness of that process is so, it's so fun because we get to know ourselves that way. We get to
Yeah.
know our light. Oh, I actually shine brighter when I'm quiet and in a smaller container, if you will. That's when I shine my brightest or whatever, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that you're bringing this really into just experiment and experience yourself, the truth of it, the
Absolutely.
truth. Yeah,
Yeah, because like you said, when we use our mind, our brain, our minds are already programmed. If we're really working consciously to reprogram our minds, then maybe the mind is helpful. But in this situation, the mind is not very helpful because it's programmed to somebody else's agenda. It's programmed
beautiful.
by society, by religion, by family, sometimes significant others, right? And so you really want to get to your truth, go to your body. Go to that felt sense because the body doesn't lie.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I will qualify that unless the body's been severely traumatized and then the body says everything's scary, everything's scary, everything's scary, and so your job then is to help your body feel safe again so it can become the truth teller again.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that clarification. That's really good.
Yes. Cool. All right, number seven. There are no mistakes. And recovering perfectionist right here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, there really are no mistakes. There's data collection, experiments, and course corrections that we take based on the data we collect from the experiments we make, right? So there's no such thing as perfect. It's literally life is a string of social experiments. And if you think there's just like one place you're supposed to arrive at in perfect condition at the end of life, life's probably not going to be very fun for you. Uh, Again, unless you enjoy torturing yourself. And that's another topic.
It's that piece that you talked about in the first slide or first or second slide of flow or fight.
Yes.
When we're in the I got to do it right, we're in that fight because we don't get to know the flow. We don't get to know who am I without this constrained, contracted perspective, mind, logical, rational orientation.
Mhm.
So this is great.
Yeah. Next one, please. Hmm. So, find a way to be in awe and wonderment every single day. For me, it's getting outdoors, observing nature, the plants, the animals. It can be marveling at the creativity and innovation of other humans, whether you go to a museum of science, or even a museum of natural history, going back to nature. Um, Listening to the stories of our elders, can bring so much awe and wonderment. And obviously watching children explore life, play, um, yeah, learning things for the first time. It's uh, it's a good perspective to take, and I would say it's a good dose of was gonna call it medicine, but we'll call it it's a good vitamin to take every day. All,
Mm.
all in
So
one.
it supplements our practical logical reality.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a new cat. Well, we've been together 6 months now, I think. 6 months, something like that. And I have not had a cat for a long time. And the awe, I'm in awe and wonder because I see her as a wild animal. And
Mm.
I get to witness and observe this being that's extraordinary. And even, I mean, every muscle movement, every element of her being just wakes me up, and in it's just so, like you're talking about, in wonderment and awe, and opens me up. And
Yeah.
it's one of those moments, as we talked about later, unstructured time, where I go outside, I'll sit outside just to be with her, just to be,
Hmm.
and observe and witness and just be present to the wilderness and the wildness of nature and all of that. So thank you for bringing this part in. This is so important.
It is. All right, number nine. Number nine is leaning into the unknown because life is basically a trust fall.
Mm,
And it's very helpful if you can cultivate the belief that, whether it's life, God, goddess, universe, whoever you believe in, wants things to work out for you, wants you to have a fulfilling life. Like when you can have that come from, it's a lot easier to lean into that trust and lean into that unknown. But I'll share an understanding I have is that the universe is constantly expanding. It wants to expand, right? And it wants to expand through us, through the experiences we have as humans, as well as whatever way it's like physical matter expanding, right? So if you have this belief that you can lean into the mystery and trust and say things like everything's in perfect divine order and actually believe it, right? And I trust the process of life because there's something more intelligent than me arranging things. It makes it a lot easier when things don't go our way and when they when the road's a little bumpier than we expected, right? So you can go back to the fighting. It's like, no, it should be this way. It should be this way. But a lot of times when we're fighting for something to be a certain way, we just have this narrow vision of what we think that should be. And if we're lucky, life bops us on the head. It's like, no, really, this is the thing you want. It's like 10 times better. Uh, so yeah, trusting that something bigger than you is actually orchestrating it perfectly and everything will happen in the right timing. Because otherwise, if you have the belief that it's all on your shoulders, like what a burden. What a burden that it's all on you. And like to me, that's so overwhelming. And I would predict that would destroy somebody by the sheer stress of it, just absolutely destroy you eventually. So lean into the unknown. It's not fun all the time. I'm not going to say it's fun all the time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be like, oh, cool. Let's see where this is taking us. This is an interesting detour. All right, I'm open. Life, guide me. Right? Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes when we expected something else, it's not so fun, but it's useful.
yep, yep. And what you're saying cultivates, we're in those times where, especially when things are going well, we go, oh, I knew it. I'm in my knowing and I'm on the path and it's all great. And then when it's not, then we're cultivating faith versus that knowing. It's like, okay, how do I be this in this be in this state where I believe everything is, working out in my favor, that life is working in my favor. Like, how do I bring myself into the faith that that's going to happen and that's true? And so I love this. It's really cultivating a practice, because it's one thing to say affirmations, but it's another thing to say, okay, I really want to know that this is true. I really want to practice this as my everyday life
Yes.
experience. And where, like you said earlier, it's like you're exercising these muscles to go from to, okay, I'll trust,
It's
that
like, okay, plot twist. It
that's
must be for my highest good. You know, that if anything, doesn't it feel better to say, this must be for my highest good than like, WTF, what is going on? Life hates me, God hates me, like, yeah, everything's going to shit, you know, like that doesn't feel so great. And we tend to down spiral from there. So if you can really take on that perspective of, this must be for my highest good, takes a huge burden off the back.
absolutely
And number 10 is similar, if you want to jump to that one. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Hey! Hoppa! Because life is full of uncomfortable moments. Um, we get dirty in life. It's just that's just the fact of life. It's the way it is. So again, you can fight that or you can flow with it. It's like, okay, I have to be with discomfort right now. I don't like it. You can acknowledge you don't like it. You don't have to pretend you like it. Like, okay, I really don't like this, but I know I can get through this. I know it won't last forever. I know I've got, you know, some helpers I can call on to help me. But truly, like, we all have outdated patterning to undo. You know, that in itself can be sticky, embarrassing. Expanding our comfort zone can be uncomfortable and, you know, exhausting. But at the end of the day, it is generally worth it. And that little bit of discomfort brings the great rewards. So,
awesome.
yeah, go to number 11. So, we all have a victim story. These, you know, I'll characterize them one way as, you know, these like insidious little core program beliefs that are disempowering, that make us down spiral, right? And my advice here is like, don't get sucked into them when you're stressed. Instead, use them as signals, like little red flags that you need to stop and do some processing, some rest, some self care, some nurturing. Um, this is not, again, unless you really enjoy down spiraling and going into this woe is me, you know, I'm such a victim of life story. Um, Generally, it's not going to be a fun experience, and if you can avoid it and just do some self care, you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, so again, you can express like, I don't like what's happening without going into the down spiral of, I'm a victim. And I also want to normalize being able to say to each other, you know, my inner child right now is throwing a tantrum and I need to go check in on them. Like, I need to excuse myself. I need to do some self care because my inner child is like seriously throwing herself on the floor. She's, you know, waving the arms and legs. She's screaming at the top of her lungs. Like, I'm at the end of my rope. I need to go do some self care. I would love to normalize that, and also normalize like, yes, bring snacks and games along along the ride for your inner child. Um, that's a great thing to do. You would do that for an actual child if you go on a road trip. So this life is a huge road trip. I think give your inner child some snacks and games and some nap time. And a lot of times when we're going down towards, you know, victim story, we just need a nap.
And what you're bringing too is when you're talking about children and naps and toys and things, it's like sometimes that our inner child just wants the attention, the play. Let's like pay attention to me, not because I'm upset and sad, but because you like to play with me and you like me, you want to be with me.
Yes.
And becoming, you know, as they say, becoming your own best friend is, and people go, oh crap, that sucks. Yeah, no, actually, and I keep looking over here because our images are over here. That's why I'm saying like keep looking away. But that part of us that's like keeps pushing our little inner child away and saying, you're doing these bad things, you're making it miserable for me, as opposed to saying, wait, stop. Again, she's tired, hungry, not getting attention, never got the attention. That's why she's like, you never, and they never, and he always. Um, so what you're saying makes so much sense, is just stop and see this being inside as you would any child, to say, oh, she needs some playtime, or she needs a nap time, or
Right.
snack time, Go back to kindergarten, your little mat, it's
Right. Or let's play. Let's spend some time together. Yeah.
rather than there's something wrong, it's like it's a red flag that
Yeah.
that
They need my attention.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the cat, right?
Right. All right. We got two more. Number 12. You don't have to grow 24/7. You don't have to push, 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 push yourself. You can take that pressure off right now, because we also, like we just said, we require rest. We require integration time of what we've learned. And it's totally okay to pause on a plateau and enjoy what life has to offer right there. And we can and we should play. Play. There's so many reasons play is good for this. I'll be talking to us about that at a later time. But play nurtures us on so many levels. And so, you know, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're not robots. We've been trained by school, by work, by this Western society that seems to only value productivity to treat ourselves like robots, but we are not robots. And we're not here. I don't believe we're here to just work a daily grind, pay bills, and die. So be kind to yourselves.
Amen.
Amen. Last slide, or last of this. So something to also keep in mind is just noticing, paying attention to what are you dancing with lately? Are you dancing with fear? Have you been dancing with fear a really long time? Is it time to stop dancing with fear, right? Are you dancing with love? Is it time to expand a little bit? Again, even just that 1%. Is it time to contract and pull in? So it's something to pay attention to. Um, I danced with fear for many, many years, and it kept me chained to my smallness until I realized, like, wait a minute, I need a new dance partner, um, and and found the tools to shift and get a better dance partner. So you can too, right? So paying attention, so that coming inward, noticing, like, what am I dancing with lately? Is it time to find a new dance partner?
Mhm. Beautiful.
Next slide. All right, so you might be wondering, how do I do all this without leaving myself behind? And I have three things to keep in mind. Next slide.
Oh, hang on. I didn't do it. Oh, come back.
Here it comes. So self-nurturing, presence, and play. And so we'll talk about each of those. Go to the next slide. Thank you for being my page turner, Rosie. All right, so self-nurturing. So we've talked a lot about that. Something I like to tell my clients, create a menu for yourself. A list of all the nurturing things that you would enjoy doing for yourself, whether it's hobbies, whether it's rest, whether, whatever it is, social time, whatever is actually nurturing to you. Make a list so that when you're in distress, and when we're in distress, we're not in the frontal lobe thinking logically, we're like back here freaking out. So you can be like, I just got to find my list. Okay, what can I do right now to help myself feel better? So make a list, and then make the effort to nurture yourself even before you get traumatized and dysregulated. It really makes a difference. A little bit every day makes a big difference. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to cost a thing, you know. But make the time. It will make a difference. Uh,
Beautiful. Oops. So it keeps do. Oops. I just.
There it is.
Oh man, sorry.
That's okay. All right. So presence. Presence for yourself. That deep, holding deep presence for yourself. Checking in with yourself. Let's see. and get back to my notes. Um, checking in with yourself to know, am I running on my truth right now? Am I running on my survival mechanisms? Am I running a victim story? Um, because when we check in and can assess that, then we can also check in like, okay, am I about to, or have I already crossed my own boundaries? Um, and is it time for self-care? Is it time for nurturing? Is it time for the nap, the snack, the special attention? So these things can help us stay in integrity with ourselves and with others. So again, the daily self-care habits. Keep those appointments with yourself. Whatever you're doing in your appointment with yourself, keep those appointments with yourself. Because the more that you know who you are, the more you're going to have confidence. You're going to be able to live a life of grace. And the more you're doing this healing work on yourself, the confidence, the grace, the integrity increases, and it all starts with presence.
Mhm. It also creates self-respect. It generates self-respect, self-honoring, and you get to know that more and more as the truth, that place of self-respect, as opposed to, yeah, no, I'm going to ignore that and avoid that and distract because I need to, social media, whatever, or partner, as opposed to going, no, I'm respecting myself right now with this presence.
Exactly. All right, next slide. Play. So play, we've been talking, hinting at this. Play is such an important factor that we forget as adults. It's not just for children, it's for us too. And it's important for our nervous system. It's important for our immune system. It's important for creativity. It's important for learning how to interact with others in a healthy manner. I would say play is just as important as rest. Again, we live in a society that only values productivity, but we are not robots. we're 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 souls in a human suit, and these human suits are fun to play with. So like, why shouldn't we enjoy them while we're here? Is my philosophy. So play, more play.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
How do we know, if it's okay to ask, how do we know what play is for us?
You gotta explore, experiment. Yeah, trial and error. Um, be willing to try new things. Yeah, for me, I think about taking a dance class sounds like play for me, and for some people, that sounds like hell to them. That's like, that's not play for me. That sounds like torture. So, checking in with yourself and giving things a try. And if it doesn't turn out to be fun and playful for you, you can excuse yourself and leave.
Yep. And it's like, you don't know, and again, until you experiment. It's like, I think that would be fun too. It's that inspiration thing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna, like you said, I got curious about where Gracie's collar was. I was like, oh, I think I'll go look for Gracie. And so that became play. Um,
Mm,
and so that inspiration can be the the motivator or the generator to find a place that's playful versus, I should do this because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's Saturday night, I should go play, you know, go to the bar or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, no, you got to find yes, your own play.
yes.
It can be a very challenging thing because we're supposed to go play. It's like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, right. Do you remember though, as kids, like, parents would like shoo us out the house and be like, go outside and play already. We'd be like, oh, I don't know what to do. But then, you look around and you get inspired. It's like, ooh, there's a stick. What can I do with that stick? Or, ooh, I've never climbed that tree before. I want to see if I can climb it today.
Oh, great.
Or
Yeah.
I want to see if my friends are available to play right now. It's finding that creative inspiration from having nothing to do. Maybe not only from that, but that helps.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool, cool. So, last slide. It's your turn. It's your turn to try these on, to experiment, to play, to um, take these principles into your life to work them, see what works for you, what doesn't, and all I can say is I'm excited to see where it takes you. Oh,
Ruby, this is
yes,
beautiful.
Rosie, thank you. Thank you.
I'm excited. I'm passionate. You just you just put it all together.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
see, I can't wait to see what what's going to show up in the summit that's going to support what you just brought up. This is just like such a support, and everything's going to support this. So I can't wait to hear what people have to say, and
Thank you.
so much, so much.
Thank you. Yes.
So
Oh,
I think you have some gifts.
I do. I do. I have two, actually, three gifts.
Ooh,
If you want to get technical. So, for our audience, I'm offering a chance to win a 1 hour strategy session with me for those looking to create their inner dream team as they step into their soul's calling, whatever that looks like for you. And so it's really about learning to lead without leaving yourself behind.
lovely.
If you're interested in that, there's a link below this video to apply to win one of those sessions. And then I'm also offering a free webinar on May 29th, I think it's 11 a.m. PT, called The Hidden Genius of Leaning into Pleasure, where we're going to talk about play some more. Because as you can tell, it's a huge passion of mine, and I think it's missing in a lot of adults' lives. And so we'll explore fun ways to reclaim pleasure in your life. Everyone's welcome. The Zoom link will be below this video um, on my bio page here for the summit, and I'll also do a live Q&A. So if you have any questions from watching the videos, we'll have some time to do a Q&A on that. And then lastly, for anyone who decides to purchase the lifetime access to the summit, which I highly recommend, because again, I know what's going on in all the interviews, and they're so good. They're so good. They're just chock full of valuable information that yeah, honestly, I'm looking forward to going back and re-listening to them myself. So for those who purchase that, you'll receive instant access to two of my Radiant You inner journeys. And the ones I've chosen to gift are Remembering Who You Are, and the other is Love. So
Nice.
each one of these journeys has a theme-specific yoga class, EFT tap along, guided meditation audio, journaling prompts, and then some fun extras. And so the links to all of that will be below, plus my websites, social media, all the ways that you can connect with me.
Nice. I again, I mean, just this one video is worth signing up for the big I'm
Lifetime.
lifetime, because this video, and your slides are just brilliant. And so that
Thank
in
you
it
so much.
that in itself is worth the lifetime. So yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you're
I
welcome.
think it is, yes, very valuable as well. And yeah, I want to thank you for being my interviewer, for helping me kick off this summit, and for being the mentor that you've been in my life. Um, Thank you for being here with me today.
It's an honor. We get to play anytime I get to be with you. We get to play, um,
Likewise.
and connect and just love each other. So I'm a happy person right now.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruby.
All right, y'all enjoy the summit. We'll see you in the next videos. Woo!
Bye for now.
Bye.